one and only, and also Dr. Richard Van West Charles, both representing Team Richard Van West Charles, join us this evening to talk a little bit about the campaign. And I want to ask Vanessa some questions as to her support for Dr. Charles. Folks, welcome. It is my privilege again. Let me welcome the man of the moment, and then Miss Kissoon. Vanessa, how are you guys doing? Doc, how are you guys doing?
Good, man.
Good night. Good night.
Fantastic. Apologies, we had a full house this evening. I know you guys were waiting to come on a little earlier, but we love having you guys on nonetheless. Dr. Van West Charles, we had you in the ring a couple weeks ago. It seemed like just yesterday, and we know this race has taken off. You have launched your campaign out of Linden. I was quite surprised by that because I didn't know you had roots in Linden. I was born in Linden, you know, so I claim my roots. Why Linden, Doc?
Well, look, Linden historically has been a community which has shown leadership not only for the issues of Linden, but leadership on national issues. And in many ways, if you go back to the 60s, Linden has always been at the forefront, dealing with the issues. Many people may not remember when Demba was there, and they had the colonial operations of the Bauxite Company. We had an apartheid situation, more or less, in then Mackenzie. And the community showed leadership in many ways, and it is for that reason where we are today that we need to have a leadership that can stand up to the PPPC to defend the issues of the people. And it's for that reason it's representative of what action is required now more than ever.
Fantastic. I watched some of it, and I said Doc is going to get, as we see in political terms, a lot of bounce out of this launch here. And then we saw after that, we went to understand that Vanessa had endorsed your candidacy, and I think some folks were surprised. I don't know why. Maybe Vanessa can tell us why persons were surprised by that. But more so, why Dr. Van West Charles? What about his platform and his message and his vision resonated with you, Vanessa?
Okay, thank you very much, Sherrod, and good night again to yourself. Good night to Dr. Charles and your listening and viewing audience. Let me say this, Sherrod, and I said it last night. When I met Dr. Charles and I listened to him, and he reached out to me after all that had happened, and he reached out a hand and he asked me to, give the party another chance, give him a chance to fix and to rebuild the People's National Congress reform, because that is what we need. I must say that I was impressed with his competence and his experience, especially when he, explained about his experience in organization and the different countries that he worked in and putting Guyana on the map. I know a lot of persons may not know about it, and we will ensure that it is known, because I think people need to know, and I know that Doc will let you know a little more about that. And also, when you look at how he would have transformed GWI most recently, right? I think he did an excellent job. I mean, our water is brung again. We all experiencing it.
Yep.
Right. But we know that under Dr. Van West Charles at GWI, a lot of things were done. And so I appreciate that. And I believe deep down in my heart that he has a vision and a plan to take the party forward, which also deals with inclusiveness. I'm here, Sherrod. And it shows. And even before my reinstatement, I was on board with Doc, because he would have reached out a hand. And I want to encourage other the delegates out there and persons. Let us listen. And let us make that right choice, because we all want to see the PNCR rebuild and reunite. And I believe this is the man for the job, Dr. Richard Van West Charles. And he has the experience, and I know he has the party at heart, and the people, not only of the party, but the people of Guyana. Because, Sherrod, let me say this, when we went around to meetings, I heard young people, and when they were talking about his stewardship at GWI as their boss, they call him, they said as their boss, and how they could have related to him, and how he listened, and persons talk about how he would
That's
return their
important. Yeah.
phone calls, and that he would listen to them. And I think that is very, very important. And we need to realize that when we have leaders that can return a call, and listen to you and share their views and take your views on board, it's very important. And I think someone with those qualities will take the People's National Congress reform where we all want it to be and where we all would like to see it.
Great. Dr. Charles, clearly your message is getting through and it's resonating. Is it that message of the experience and you being, I think what you said the last time you were here, an international public servant, you think that is the message needed for this time?
Well, I think the message is the focus of the party on growth and development at all levels, and a commitment of the party to work with all of our people, all of our members, all of our supporters, all Guyanese. And I think that is important in that you begin, as I said, in terms of the party, where the rubber hits the road is at the group level, within the community, showing the leadership and working in the interest of people's development. Once you are committed to do that, once you're committed to ensure that the voices of the people are welcome, the different opinions of the people are welcome, that is where we can place the issues on the table, find solutions, and move forward in a sustainable manner. I think also is to ensure that young people, their voices, opinions, are at the table with respect to decision making, with respect to the recommendations and finding the solutions.
Great. Vanessa, for your part, you talked about your reinstatement, and clearly you aren't, after 7 years. It seems to be a very symbolic number. You aren't going to be standing on the sidelines for very long. And we know you haven't been on the sidelines standing. What do you see your role going forward under Richard Van West Charles, leader of the PNCR?
Well, let me first of all say, like Doc was saying, Sheridan, this has been our message all the time. Groups, working with the people, working with groups. And that is my passion. Because think about it, Sheridan. If we were that organized and our groups were organized and we were being allowed to, at the level of the groups, to work and to show our potential, when we call for lockdown, we would not have a problem. The groups would have been ready. The groups would have been charged because they would have already been organized and been there on the ground, knowing exactly what to do. They would have been mobilized, and that is my passion, working with Doc, because I've been into different areas with him, and we understand that we recognize that the groups need to be strengthened, and this is where I see my role. And I said to Doc, even when we engaged me to come on board, because Sherrod, I was going to the whole party stuff and all of that. I really was. I was out of it. And he extended that hand, and he, as I said last night, he caught my white towel before it hit the ground, because I was throwing in the white towel, and he reached out to me and he said, "Let us work." I said to him from up front, I don't need to be on the central executive body to work, Sherrod. My place is working within the different areas and ensuring that the groups are organized and we strengthen our groups, because we have to come from bottom up. It's not from top down. It's from bottom up. And we need to have those groups work. We need to have them play their role. And I want to say this, Sherrod. All of us, just like the APNU AFC coalition, you have a role. I see you had Miss Singh there, Natasha Singh MP. Yeah. She has a role. We all have a role in the People's National Congress reform. I will tell my students that in the classroom. We all have a role. But the thing about it, if we all understand our role, then we can work together and we will be able to build any organization or build anything that we want to build when we recognize our role and we can work together. And I want to say this, all of us can be leaders. All of us can be the chairman. All of us can. So that is why we need to understand our roles. And I know personally, I don't have to be on the central exec to be able to play a part in the People's National Congress. There's so much work to be done, Sharon. There's so much to be done that once we all know our roles and we can play our roles. And listen, I tell you tonight, Sharon, after working with Doc for this past month and change, you understand? I know that he knows his role. He knows that what is my
Fantastic.
role. He knows what are the roles of the others, and he's allowing us to play our roles. And I tell you, with this gentleman at the helm of the People's National Congress reform, we can't go wrong. And I want to encourage other
Fantastic.
members.
I can't go wrong, Sherrod, with Vanessa.
At all, at all. And I know Vanessa is dubbed as a grassroots person who in touch with the folks on the ground. You guys are moving around. What are you hearing? You're talking to groups, you're talking to folks at the grassroots level. What are you guys hearing?
Well, let me say to you that the members are very clear in terms of their non-involvement in many ways. And as I explained to them what we used to be like and where we want to go, and the connectedness and the role of the leadership of the group, they're enthused. I just came from a meeting this evening in Buxton, and I spent some time explaining where we want to go to get away from the issue of, and more or less it's building a culture of participatory democracy. And when we choose councillors, etc., it's not about who you know, but by establish a democratic process which would allow the best through a democratic process, through a democratic vote, that who will be representative. And then the organization's commitment to prepare its members to function at all levels, as an NDC councillor, as an RDC councillor, as a parliamentarian, as a member of the board. So when they're identified through a process, not because whom do you know, then when you get into that position, you're not from ground zero, but you are moving because you already know what are your functions and how to perform to represent the people's issues at those levels.
Great, great. I'm happy to hear that. Part of the discussion of the campaign, since you were here, Doc, it's been, I heard, for instance, Simona Brooms, I think it was, talked about the quality of the campaign. She didn't like some of the attacks that she was hearing. Is any of that, not necessarily her comments, but any of that thing, those themes generally you or is there a direction that the campaign is going in that you don't like, or where are you on those issues? Because that has been kind of topical too.
Well, I think it was
of the campaign.
I think when it started off, it was probably outright, but I think now things are coming back to the center. But maybe one of the things which should have happened in the very beginning is a commitment to a code of ethics, a code of conduct in the electoral process, because we're all from one party. And therefore it should be a battle of ideas. And that is what I would like to see. At the end of the day, we all have to work in the interest of the party. And it's the best, not only the ideas, it's the best approach that you would use to bring people on board, to build your teams that you have to build. And what is your experience? How have you done this before? And you've got to be results driven to ensure that we can move along the road at a faster rate.
Great. So we are just on a month out. I saw the candidates list has been released by the party. Lots of folks, I think, vying for vice chairman. That seems to have the most nominations. Lots of a few persons have been added to those now who've been nominated for leader of the party. As we go down the road, Doc, Do you think now that we've had about 3 weeks behind us, there are sharper distinctions between you and the other candidates, especially where your vision is concerned? And Vanessa can chime in too from your standpoint. Are there sharp distinctions between Dr. Charles and the other candidates who are running for leader of the party?
I should go, Vanessa.
Go ahead, Doc. You go ahead.
Well, I think there's a sharp distinction in that I don't subscribe to a slate. And I don't do that because I believe that once we have a democratic process, whoever is the leader must respect the outcome of that process and be able to build a team to work in the interest of all. When you establish a slate, my view is that's the genesis of factionalism. That once you establish that I have the slate, it means that these are who I want to work with, and I may have a difficulty working with anyone else. That is not a democratic approach, and so I do not subscribe to it. I think it sends the wrong messages to people who are competing also, who are not necessarily on a slate. That and this is one of the things that's resonating with people, because they agree, and you're not bullied to go with the slate, because in many cases people vote for a slate without even knowing people who are on the slate, and that's not a healthy democracy at all. And that's why you don't have stakeholdership in the political process, because some of these people don't know these people, and they are occupying positions without presenting their case to the general membership.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important, and that's one of the critical distinctions between it. The other distinction, though, is my experience in terms of organizational development and management. Clearly, I've had more experience nationally and internationally as compared to the two other candidates. Well, at least, with the exception probably of Carl, who I just see is nominated. I don't know whether he is going to go forward. But surely, in terms of organizational development and management, that is probably one distinction. In terms of portfolios that I've had at the governmental level and at the international level, I have the breadth of experience. I've been as a minister for health, water, environment, and housing at one time, together with other functions, and also medical education, food policy, and the environment. And when I look at my international experience, you consider my international experience, it is considered, when you consider it, it is not one country, but a series of countries managing their programs, working with different teams.
Yeah.
And building them and strengthening them. So my experience has not been that of a slate. When I move from one country to the other, I've got to build a team so that we can deliver. And so that has been my experience. So I wouldn't have that difficulty with my political acumen in moving this car along the right road.
Fantastic. Vanessa?
Yes, well, I want to endorse what Doc said there just now. And also, like I said earlier, his experience. Sherrod, I was amazed when I actually met Doc for the first time face to face, because, you know, we know of him, we heard of him. And a lot of times we know of people we hear, we know it's Burnham's son-in-law and so on. But when he reached out to me and then we had a conversation on the phone, then he met with me, we sat and we spoke, I was impressed. And I honestly believe, like I said, he is the person with the experience. And when he spoke about not having a slate, one of the things that he said to us, and he said to me, and I know he's been saying at meetings, is when he talked about having to organize with different countries, persons from different countries that he didn't know. He never met them, but he had to work with them because he was placed at the head, and he had to build a team with people from different countries and, you know, work with them. And he was able to do that. So this is a man that we know that can bring people together, that can organize and work with people, You understand? And that is something that I admire. And I ask persons, because you know, one of the things persons are using to as a distinction for their self is to say that the people don't know Doc, or Doc is not known by party people. Dr. Richard Van West Charles in 2018 was elected as a central executive member, sorry, by party people. I don't know, Doc, were you co-ops member or were you elected by the members?
Elected.
Exactly. So we cannot say that he's not known by the party people. He was elected by members of the People's National Congress Reform to the central exec. And so we need not to say that we must stop using that as a distinction, or to use that to say, you know, he's not known. The man is known. The man did an excellent job with GWI. Come on. All of us now are crying and complaining. We water brung again. We ain't getting the kind of pressure, but we were enjoying it under his stewardship. He organized young people in that ministry there. And so, you know, he has what it takes. And he believes in inclusiveness. He believes in allowing persons. Look, we were at a meeting, and all the meetings that we go to, I listened to this young man, this gentleman, and you know what he said to the person? He said, if the other candidates have not come to you as yet, please do not stay away when they come. Listen to them. Hear what they have to say. That is the quality of a true leader. Not calling up people and telling them, do not attend this body meeting or don't go. So that is one of the things that you know, he stands out with. He's telling persons, you need to listen. It's a democratic process. The PNCR is the only party that we do this. You understand? This is a democratic process. And so I want to encourage the other delegates and my other members of the People's National Congress Reform. Let us not go on emotions and sentiments. All right? Let us go with the real deal. And the person who will take this party forward. Dr. Richard Van West Charles.
Fantastic. And you know, piggybacking on what you have said, Vanessa, Doc, for those folks who might put any stock in what Freddie Kissoon writes, he had a similar opinion that Dr. Richard Van West Charles is a different generation, but clearly your message and your experience in public life and in management and all that has resonated with Vanessa's generation. Not so?
Well, you know, when I was at GWI, for example, I was the oldest in the management, and all of the other executive directors were quite young. We had a good time exchanging views, etc. And I sought to ensure that to mentor them and ensure that they were exposed, because I really ensure that they leave these shores so that they can open their vistas to come back and give up and provide leadership and create opportunity for our own people. So when you looked at the commitment of the staff in GWI, when the pipes were breaking all the time, but those workers were there, that is the commitment we want. But that commitment doesn't come by itself. It comes by the way how you manage and how you build your teams and how you say thank you and how you help. You know, so I want to say to you that age is a number, as Sparrow says.
Just a number.
But you've got to have the experience. You've got to be fit, and I am fit and ready to do what when I started to work at GW and I started to walk and climb. One guy said, "I wonder what Doc's using." But you've got to be committed. Look, this is how my father-in-law worked. He worked very hard, committed to the issues of the people. That is what I learned, and that's how I act. I acted like that nationally. I acted like that internationally in service of people. People as a people-centered program, and that's where I go.
And Sherrod, let me add this.
Right ahead.
You know, Doc is not afraid to embrace people like myself and Mr. Solomon. He's not afraid and to listen to our views. He doesn't feel when we enter the room with him, the room doesn't become small for him. The room expands because he understands the value and he understands what we have to offer. And not only myself and Charmer, there are other young people, Miss Howard, also from Linden, young Royston Lester, who just out of high school. And so, you know, and he would have embraced this team. And we've been working. And, you know, this is something that we need to understand. When you have a leader who is not afraid of your presence and is not afraid to listen and to share views and even listen to what you have to say, then we are going places with a leader like this, Sherrod. This is somebody that we want at the helm of the People's National Congress Reform. It is not always about being loud. It is not always about just a big bark, you know. It is all because sometimes, and I know I said it at the launch. They got a saying I grew up hearing from my granny: "Easy snake is bite at Sherrod." And a lot of times, you know, a lot of times you have some dogs with big backs, but ain't got no bite, Sherrod. You know what I'm saying? You know, you got your friend and you got this big dog, and when you go, the dog say, "Hoof, big back," and you jump because you're afraid, and then your friend say, "Man, no, come in, come in. He just bark loud. He's a pet. He not gonna bite. Come in." You know? And so sometimes let us not be fooled by these things. You understand? And then we have people behind the leader who we know that will work, who we know that got big back too. We know that, you know. So it's not just about a one man. It's not about a one man, Sharon. And I said it last night on Mark. One man, the PPP is not afraid of Sharon. The PPP is afraid of a united People's National Congress reform. And that is what Dr. Van West Richard Child will bring to the table. A united PNCR that will confront the real enemy, which is the PPPC.
Yep. Those jagabats. Dr. Charles. Dr. Charles, again, I think Vanessa touched on some very important points, which says to me leadership. You didn't allow her to drop that white towel. You expand the room as against making the room small. People feel welcome. You're approachable. Soft power is useful, and one gets the impression the longer folks talk with you, the more charismatic you become. What is your pitch to those delegates undecided? We're still a long way out. A month in politics is like 10 years. Right. We're still a very long way out.
I am talking to them because the issue is about, first of all, you got to be committed to the people. You've got to understand what that commitment is in terms of service. But you've got to understand that you want an organization in which you want people to express themselves. You don't want people who are sitting there and unable to share their views because they feel that they're threatened by anyone. So I have always opened the doors. I believe, I am committed that you have to allow all the flowers to bloom.
1,000 flowers.
You've got to ensure that everyone has the opportunity and feel comfortable that even if they differ, they must express themselves. Because in many cases, it is the minority view that is the kernel of truth. If sometimes we go with the majority, but that's the wrong position. But if the minority feels threatened and is unable to express themselves, then we lose as a people. So I think that is important. When you at all levels, it is not only the people at the top. So as the party is so structured, when we, if you look at the constitution of the PNC, and you look at where the General Council is, it is a way of bringing the views, the opinions, the voices of all of the comrades from top to bottom and bottom to top to find the solutions in the interest of the people. But you've got to be committed to that and not be threatened by the other voices.
Vanessa, and for your part, you know, we hear you outline a whole host of things as to why you think Dr. Van West Charles is the man for the moment. I want to give you the final word. You know, if we have missed anything, those delegates still on the fence, this is why you guys should be thinking about Dr. Richard Van West Charles for leader of the PNCR. Vanessa, your audio.
Sorry,
Thanks.
I realized my mic was muted. Sorry. Most importantly, Sherrod, and to your listening audience, to the delegates, I want them to understand that it's a democratic right and process to listen, because you cannot have if you are locked in, if you're just locked in because you made a decision that this is your candidate and you're locked in and you're not open to listening and to giving others a chance and to hear them, then this is the type of thing that will not move this party forward. We cannot be locked in. We have to give everyone a chance, and you have to listen. And the thing about it, you have to make informed choices for
Yeah.
yourself. And like Doc said, don't be bullied. We know persons are being called and so on. But at the end of the day, this is not just about a one man. This is not just about the two persons. This is about a party that we all love. This is about the People's National Congress reform. And so we need to ensure, because if you don't, I'm saying this to you, Sherrod, because I know persons who, after hearing Doc, they went up to him. I know he didn't want to say it, but they went up to him and he said, you know what? My whole perspective changed. Because they listened. And they were at one time locked in. You cannot remember, at the end of the day, this is about all of us, the party that we all love. And so we have to allow the process to work. And let us treat our comrades, let us treat each other with respect. Let us treat each other with love, because after this, we have to work together. And like Doc said, he doesn't have a slate, because he wants persons. And one of the things I know he said at the meeting, he said at one of the meetings, he said, listen, even those persons vying for chair and vice chair must come to you. Even those persons, they must come to the groups, and the groups must hear them. The groups must hear what are their plans, what they have to offer. And whoever becomes chair or vice chair, he's going to work with those persons. He's going to ensure that that team works. Because what we tell our students, Sherrod, teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly. Yep.
And I want to say to us tonight, we need to listen. We need to listen. And for those of us who are asking, where was Doc for 23 years and where, he's been there. He's been working. Some of us always do work in the background. But at least we know for the past 5 years, he did an excellent job at GWI. Come on. Let us not do that. We need to give credit where it's due,
But,
And I know some persons, like I said, they say he's not known to the party. Come on. He was elected in 2018. He was not a co-opt member. He was an elected member of the central exec by the party members. So we cannot be saying these things. And he has the experience. He has the openness. He has the competence. And I want us to understand, just like me, because I'm saying to you, Sherrod, based on my last experience at Pleasant, with that situation there, that was it for me. That was it for me. I said, you know what? I'm going to relax for probably 7 more years. But you know what I realized? That caught that white towel. And in the Bible, it says 7 is the number of perfection. And so here we are. Let us not lose this opportunity. My comrades, the delegates, let us not lose this opportunity to fix the People's National Congress reform. And behind this man, there will be a team, because I know whoever becomes chairman, vice chairman, I know that I am confident that the members will make the right choice. They will make the right decisions, and that with Doc at the head, he's going to work with that team. He's going to build that team. We're going to reunite. We're going to rebuild the People's National Congress reform, and then we're going to charge the forces against the haughty enemy, which is the PPPC.
Very well. I don't think any of us can put it better, Vanessa. Doc, if you want to add anything.
No, I think this is an important moment for the PNCR, and an important moment for the country, as more and more resources are coming. And it means that the country has to become more and more democratic.
Yeah.
And I believe that if the political parties are more and more democratic, our country becomes more and more democratic. And it's for this reason I want to see the PNCR leading in terms of the democratic construction of our society, where we all will have a better quality of life, equity, fairness, and justice for everyone.
Yeah. And you know, Doc, Vanessa, this country need a proper party or coalition to lead it. And I think we have demonstrated that. You talk about what Doc did at GWI. The folks are crying out. Just yesterday, we spoke about how the folks at Stanley Tongue reached out to us and talked to us about the water shortages there. Look, the farmers crying out, the fisher folks crying out. They want other than 9 point how much billion is pocketory and confusion powder. This country needs you. This country needs us. Yep.
Yes. And we all have to understand, Sherrod, once we all understand the role we play, once we all understand, we all have a role and we understand our role. Because like I said it before, all of us can't be there. Even the water boy on the basketball team, even the towel bearer is important. And so we need to understand our role and understand that we all have a role and a part to play in our country, this beautiful country, Guyana, that we call our home.
You know, Sherrod, let me just make this point.
Go right ahead, Doc.
When you build, you're going to have different views. And what you must not have is, because there is difference, you become enemies. And that kills progress, that kills development.
Exactly.
So that's where I sit. And you can bet that I will walk that road all the time as I've walked before.
Fantastic. Dr. Richard Vanessa Charles, candidate for leader of the PNCR. You don't have a slate, as you said, but a strong supporter in the one and only Vanessa Kissoon, iconic in her own right. Vanessa, thank you guys for coming in the ring this evening and to sharing the vision of Dr. Vanessa Charles' campaign. Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us, and thank you to your listeners.
Awesome.
It's always good to be in the ring.
Awesome. Thanks, Doc.
Yes,
thank you.
There
we go, guys. The man himself, Dr. Richard Vanessa Charles, and the one and only Miss Kissoon, Vanessa Kissoon there joining us. And we are so happy that you guys have stuck around. And as I said, you listened to what they say, especially those folks who are delegates, members of the PNCR, and you're going to have to make up your mind as to where you go. You have a couple of days out from the PNCR 21st Biannual Delegates Congress, which, if my mind serves me right, is coming up on December 11th. Guys, you hear all of the candidates. And to that end, again, we want to thank Doc and his team for joining us. Thanks again, Doc, Dr. Richard Vanessa Charles, and thanks also to